Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Damian Hill. With me, as always, is TJ Connor. Tonight we have Mark Goad after a successful boxing debut for his fighter, one of the guys that he trained, Jimmy Barnes. And Trash Talk is brought to you again by Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Origin Wellness CBD, Spartan Martial Arts, the Striking Institute, Inkstring Tattoo out in New Brighton, Minnesota, The Fighters, TJ's Mom, and James Clark Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy. How are you doing tonight, Mark?
Good. I'm doing good.
Yeah. I mean, uh, after that fight, I mean, you had came right up to me with a little bit of excitement saying, "Hey, didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you?"
I told
And
that,
you did.
um,
Man,
I
you
knew.
did. Now,
What?
no, I'm sorry.
Oh, I knew you were going to end it quick, and I hope he ended it before he gasped. I mean, he gets so like, you know. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
man, hold on, settle. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting when you're
He
going
said it's
in one fighter, and he's a established fighter. You know, Danielle is a very established fighter, MMA and boxing. You know, and
yep.
Jimmy just took it to him basically what we told him to do, he did.
Yeah. Now, when we got the chance to spoke with him, he was saying, or I guess it was one of those things that was said in between the lines, but he's finally starting to listen to you. How is that? How are you reacting to that now? Now that he's finally starting to believe what you believe?
Oh man, I don't know how many times. Oh, it's been about a year and a half anyway. I said, "Let your hands go, man." He won't.
Yeah.
He didn't have no confidence in him. But after that fight, he goes, "Holy shit, coach, you were right."
Yeah. And right you were, sir. Oh my
And
God.
when you don't
What?
throw punch,
Yeah. When what has it been like working with them? And you said you've been saying this over a year to him. How long have you actually been working with them, and what has the progression like been for him and for you two, I guess, in your relationship?
oh, well, anyway, we met through my buddy Dusty. He was actually doing jujitsu, and Dusty said, "Hey, I got this guy that wants to do MMA. You want to come and take a look at him?" I go, "Oh, okay. What does he want to learn?" He goes, "Striking, boxing, preferably." I said, "Oh, okay." So I went to the gym and I said, "Well, let's see what you got." Back up and I'm going, "Oh shit, man, this guy can't hit nothing." He couldn't. He couldn't. He couldn't. He just anyway. eh, I've been with him about a year and a half, and he's just taking leaps and bounds now. You know, he's got but Colton Warner, Jeff Warner, and Angel. I can never say his name right.
Yeah, I found Pacheco
Yeah,
finally able
there
to
you
say
go.
it right now.
I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. Yeah, it's been trying times though. With Jimmy, he doesn't like to listen until somebody like Jeff Warner says something, and then he goes, "Hey, coach, I should move in with this foot." And I'm like, "What have I been telling you for a year and a half?" You have.
Yeah, sometimes it's one of those things where it's not what you need to hear, it's just how you hear it. Sometimes it's a different voice, it's a different tone. Well, whatever it was, I mean, it's definitely working. When we talked to Jimmy the other night, he was mentioning, just the help and support he has around him, and the phrase, obviously it takes a village. You've seen his hands grow over that last year and a half, like you said, exponentially. I mean, he's had tough fights since then. What was it like, just from your perspective, being that coach, to finally see it all come together and get the big win in the pro boxing debut?
Oh man, I was so excited. Even when it was supposed to be Ryan Watson first, I was kind of excited. But then he said Danielle Williams. I said, "Ooh, we got a pretty good chance at this." But yeah, he's grown as a fighter and a boxer. Actually, in the last 6 months, he has improved like 75% in his boxing
Yeah.
and striking game. And we're gonna
Oh,
take a year off, I think, of MMA. I think that's what we were talking about a year, and just do some serious boxing, and it'll sharpen his game up all around in the MMA world too.
yeah.
Yeah, and taking that time to learn and grow. Obviously, right now, I mean, we're in probably the weirdest situation that any of us have ever been in as far as competition and sporting events go. How do you plan on, from a coaching perspective, utilizing this time where there is no opportunity or very limited opportunity to compete to help Jimmy even grow more and more before we see him back in there? Because like you just said, he kind of hinted at it as well, expect to see him back in the boxing ring again.
Yeah, well, we're going to continue training. I mean, we're going to take a week off, get back to the bags and mitts, have him doing some weights and jump rope, all the basic stuff of being a boxer. And July, I can't remember what the promoter said, but he's going to welcome Jimmy back in the ring in July. So we'll just stay sharp, stay ready. That's all you can do. Even if we get fined one short notice, we'll take it. If it's a good one, Have you checked the rankings yet in the pro boxing?
No.
Went through the roof. He did, man. I was like, crap, man. I think I got the wrong James Barnes.
Oh man, that's excellent to hear. I mean, and then hopefully by June, or July, that this is enough time to for it to pass. I mean, all of the quote unquote crisis situation that's going on right now, because this is definitely a strange time, like you said, TJ. Have you actually been? Have you heard of anything about any of the upcoming boxing matches that were supposed to be going on? Even the MMA shows, like what are their plans to? I mean, are they planning to actually keep the shows going?
They're canceling all sporting events if their groups are larger than 10. So that's basically no fights, no nothing.
Man,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Oh, even the Golden Gloves boxing match that was supposed to happen on Saturday. The night after the fight was canceled.
Yeah, they canceled. Yeah, the whole event, and man, that's unfortunate for a lot of these kids. I mean,
Isaiah had to get down to 124, so he's been dieting and running, and then it was canceled. I was like, dang, man. Kids get their heart set on this stuff, and then all of a sudden, you can't.
Yeah. How long have you actually been coaching? How many years?
How many years have I been coaching? My son was 3. He's now 15. So 12, 13 years.
So in the 13 years of your experience as a coach, how strange is this to actually be going on? And is this one of the strangest things that you've actually seen? I mean,
this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you guys do if you were a boxer and all of a sudden your matches were canceled because of pandemic?
I don't even know. If my fight was canceled, like normally it's like, well, let's get another one. It'd be like another, like 2 or 3 weeks later. You're basically just postponing it. But now there's no postponing it. This is
that's not like till the end of May.
Man.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like Damian said, a normal fight falling through for you, whatever it may be, change of opponent, and whatever happens, you're just like, damn, you can kind of blame the opponent, whatever it may be. You can focus on the next thing. But in a situation like this where, that outlet to compete is temporarily suspended, and even, in most cases, the outlet to train is being suspended in a lot of cases. But, it's one of the situations where it is, obviously it's better to err on the side of caution. It's obviously going to go back to normal. The competitions are going to resume, and the fighters just need to stay on top of it inside, and mentally and physically, and just be ready for when those calls come, because as soon as this gets cleared, every fight promoter ever is just waiting to book shows.
Oh yeah, they're losing money right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's losing money right now,
Seriously.
Yeah.
Home from work. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'd say that it's a crazy situation. And like you said, obviously in your years of coaching, there's been nothing that compared it. For the fans of the show that might not know, what initially brought you into the realm of coaching? What was your background? What led you down this path?
Oh, when I was in the military, I fought for the Army. And then I got out, and I never boxed really. And then my sons wanted to get into it, and they met a guy named Mr. Mata. He started a gym here in Cloquet called Cocoside Boxing Academy. Well, I went over there a couple times, and I was like, "Oh, you should do this and this and this." He goes, "Oh, yeah, that would work, wouldn't it?" Yeah, and he goes, "Hey."
So
got
you kind of, I mean, it just kind of fell into place, just kind of happened, you know. I
Right.
mean, if you know a certain amount and say, hey, well, dude, like, why don't
Yeah.
you come help me out a little bit, and then the experience that you get as you're doing it, you start to grow a whole lot more too. I mean,
I owe
um, God,
I owe most of my coaching to Mr. Mata. He was phenomenal. And we went up there to Jungle Boys, and I mean, we were killing guys because we can switch feet and we switched hands, and they didn't know what to do. Even the
hold on.
judge
So
yelled at me one time, "Hey, your boys can't keep doing this. We don't know how to score." I'm like, "Yeah, it's when that little white thing hits somebody in the face. That's when they score. Doesn't matter which
yeah.
what stance." Yeah, they got. The
Oh
kids,
hell yeah. So is that one of the things that like motivated you the most was like development of your kids, and then now obviously you're working with Jimmy, and I mean, and you've worked with countless other fighters in this time. Is that one of the things that started it off, and then you just kind of fell in love with coaching as a whole?
I fell in love with coaching when I first actually started with Mr. Mata. The
Yeah.
kids, take them off the streets, they give them something to do, something with their hands, and we always had
Yeah.
this kind of an unsaid rule that if you fight in school, you're out of the gym.
Yeah.
And there was nobody fighting in school. No, we actually had to kick a boxer off the team because he was fighting all the time.
Man.
It just didn't. I'm not teaching a kid to beat somebody up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. And I mean, and it comes to having to do that. James Clark, my head coach, he actually had to do that at the time that I was actually training. There was another, I think he was 16, around 17. I was 19 at the time. And he had to ask him to stop coming because he was posting Kimbo Slice videos of himself beating up and Kimoring
Yeah.
his classmates and stuff or whatever. And he had to ask him to leave, and eventually he ended up started training again, and now he actually brought his son back, and he was explaining to Jim how that actually had like a huge impact on him, and made him want to straight because he didn't want to not be in the gym, but he knew the opportunity that he had messed up for himself, and actually having it uh put on you and thrown into your face or whatever, and especially with something like not as bad as jail time, you
Right.
know, it comes to the realization of like, hey, maybe I need to straighten up a little bit. And he actually did, which was pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean, it does suck though. I mean, I know I was one of those kids because I eventually wasn't able to train Taekwondo anymore because of me fighting and stuff like that. And then we also eventually moved, so I wasn't able to actually earn my way back onto the team. But
Bummer.
yeah. Yep. But look at me now. Nah.
Hold up that Corona, brother.
Yeah.
But looking forward here, I mean, obviously, like we stated once and twice now, I mean, it was a great performance from Jimmy, solid debut on the boxing ranks. I mean, as his coach and someone that obviously has his best interest in mind, kind of, I'm trying to think of how I want to word it. How do you feel, or what does it make you think when people say, maybe he should lean more towards boxing after this performance, given his wrestling background? Do you think it's something to where, the boxing's great for the experience, but MMA is, probably the end goal? Or do you think, as the coach, wrestling aside, boxing could be the way to go?
It could be. There's bigger paydays in boxing, that's for sure. You fellas know there's no
Yeah.
money in MMA. You're not going to make it rich unless you're in the UFC or one or the big shows. These little shows, they pay you what, 250 to show up and 250 to win. I don't know. Yeah, I don't collect a dime from Jimmy. I do this all on my own time, my own money. I just love it so much that I breathe and bleed boxing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that. I mean, man, that's a whole nother level of dedication. I didn't know
Yeah.
that that was the deal you had worked out. Like, fuck, dude. That more respect to you, dude. Man. you know,
I
I
drive 100
mean,
miles.
and TJ mentioned that. I'm sorry, what?
I drive like 100 miles a night and do it 3-4 times a week. All on my own. I'm addicted.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I'm glad that there's guys like you in the sport and that are associating themselves with these fighters, you know. And I guess TJ had mentioned it himself too earlier, but you being in the position that you are working with Jimmy, knowing that or thinking that boxing is the way that he should start to lean, could you give us a little bit of a foreshadowing as to what's next for Jimmy? Is there any way that we could work that out?
I'm not going to say much, but I know he's going to be welcome back again in July. I can't remember the date. Back to Hinckley Grand Casino. It's going to be an outside show. I know a couple of fighters that are going to be on the card, but I can't say nothing because they told me not to say nothing. George, type here, you know.
Yeah,
It's going to be amazing.
I tried.
The two opponents that he is, the promoter proposed to me. I called Jimmy right away. He said, "Take it." He didn't even take it.
So that sounds, without too much details, like we got to fight. And I mean, when two fighters agree, it's only need a place and a time. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. Be sure when the news does break, have Jimmy reach out to us. That way we can be the first to let the world know to get their tickets. Outside event at Hinckley. There's no better way to go. Just before we wrap it up here tonight, I always like to give an open platform just to thank anybody inside the gym, outside the gym, any sponsors, anything like that.
I just like to thank Trash Talk and Jimmy the Bull Barnes.
Well, we thank you, sir. Thank you for being on with us. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, thank you for being on with us. We really appreciate the time that you took with us. People watching this video, like this video, subscribe to Trash Talk with Damian and TJ. Don't be a hoe.
Be there. Don't be a hoe. I love that.